Before today's video, I take no pleasure in coming after companies. I don't want to eat our own in the Second Amendment community. I'm a former customer of Liberty gun safes, and I'm only making this video because I do feel like they need to exact a change in their policies, and you as a consumer should know about it. We have some breaking news today of an absolutely wild story about Liberty gun safes that has basically just Bud Lighted themselves, and they are getting absolutely flamed by the Second Amendment community, and it appears from the information that I've seen, rightfully so. So here's what happened. So Nathan Hughes is one of the January 6th defendants. 6 days ago, his home gets raided. He lives in Fayetteville, Arkansas. Now, to be clear, I don't know what his involvement was and if the prosecution is just, etc. I know there is a lot of unjust things happening there, but either way, I think we need to defend Nathan Hughes' rights. And so he had a gun safe. When his home was raided by the FBI, the information, as given and confirmed by Liberty gun safes, the FBI contacted Liberty safes and asked for a passcode to get into his safe. Now, why do you buy a gun safe? You spend $3,000, $7,000, $10,000 on a very, very nice gun safe because you don't want anyone on planet Earth to have access to what is in that safe except you. That's why you spend the money on it, right? But apparently, from the information given from Liberty gun safe, they created a backdoor password to get in. And even though they, as far as the information that has been shared, were not a named person on the warrant, Liberty gun safe gave it to the FBI anyway to get access to that person's safe. Now, we have no information to say that Nathan Hughes voluntarily gave access to the FBI, and so that customer's intent was for them to not get in there, and yet he was betrayed by the company that he paid money to defend the items in that safe. And so it's wild. I mean, they're called Liberty gun safe. Liberty, the state of being free from oppressive regimes and authoritarian control. I want to make sure that I'm being totally fair to Liberty gun safe here because we don't have perfect information. I did reach out to them 3 times and I did not receive any substantive response. This is their statement though. Liberty gun safe says, on August 30, 2023, Liberty Safe was contacted by the FBI requesting the access code to the safe of an individual for whom they had a warrant to search their property. Our company protocol is to provide access codes to law enforcement if a warrant grants them access to the property. Note here, their policy is not if Liberty Safe is legally compelled to do it, but if law enforcement has a warrant to get to the property, then Liberty gun safe just volunteers that information. After receiving the request, we received proof of the valid warrant, and only then did we provide them with an access code. So we have to pause there. What I have to know is this normal? Is it normal for companies to create a backdoor into these gun safes that they can give to third parties even if it's against our will? And so I reached out to another major safe manufacturer to see what their policy is and if they have such a backdoor. We're going to get to that in 1 second, but first, today's video is brought to you by FlexiSpot, which helped me to get a little gift for my wife.
A gift?
Yeah. Okay, while you were exercising, I got it all set up. Your new workspace!
Nuh-uh.
Isn't it cool?
I love that.
Look, you can even take physical notes on it. Because there's the whiteboard finish on it. You love physical
Emily.
notes.
That's so cute.
And you love being active. You can stand up. Look at it.
This is neat.
That's so much better than your old desk. It goes up fast too.
I love it.
You also, I have the dual monitor arm that we can set up so you can get 2 monitors on it.
Oh my gosh, look at that.
You could be...
What would I do with this?
LeBron James could use this desk. FlexiSpot has their Labor Day sale going on right now, up to 50% off. Plus, you can get an additional $30 off if you use coupon code Backfire. I wanted to know if this was normal because my thought is like, why the heck do they have an access code to my safe? I can understand that it comes with a default password, but once the user sets it, I don't want anybody having access to this safe. And so I called Hornady, that has Hornady safes as well as SnapSafe, and I asked them, I said, is this normal? Do companies do that? And they said, don't know what the rest of the industry does, but according to Hornady and SnapSafes, they don't have any digital access to that safe. Once you set the code, they don't have that digital backdoor if this is a digital safe. However, they do have a key that they can provide to the customer that then they could reset the password, requiring a physical key. That seems like a good policy, and they said they would never comply with a law enforcement request that doesn't specifically compel them to give that information. That's the right policy. That's what should be done here. Liberty Safe had no knowledge of any of the details surrounding the investigation at the time. So presumably they didn't know this was a January 6th and this was a politicized thing. Liberty Safe is devoted to protecting the personal property and Second Amendment rights of our customers, doesn't seem like it, and has repeatedly denied requests for access codes without a warrant in the past. We do not give out combinations without proper legal documentation. Okay, that's fine. We regularly update our policies to ensure both compliance in federal and state law and reasonable customer privacy protections within the law. I don't want reasonable customer privacy protections. I'm literally building a fortress around property that I don't want anybody to get to, and not reasonable. I want unreasonable protection of my personal property. That's why you buy a gun safe. That's the whole point of it. First and foremost, Liberty Safe is committed to preserving our customers' rights. So this was 13 hours ago on Twitter that Liberty Safe posted this. I looked through a lot of responses and I didn't find a single response that was positive toward this. I'm sure there are some in the thousands of replies, but I couldn't find one person who thought this was an appropriate response. They've since turned off commenting on that post. 3.6 million people have seen it and they are getting flamed. I cannot imagine, cannot fathom why they would not change their policy immediately. This is a perfect example of, hey, we screwed up. A lower level employee followed a policy that we did not think through all the implications of. This is never happening again. If that were the response, this would be a totally different issue, but it appears that they're digging in their heels. We regularly update your policy. Okay, it's time to update your policy immediately. More information on this specific case came from on Twitter. It was originally, the story was broken from the Hodge twins Twitter account, and they shared some more information about it. They said Nathan Hughes is from Fayetteville, Arkansas. He was raided by the FBI and arrested at gunpoint. His girlfriend, who just had a miscarriage, was held at gunpoint and put in handcuffs. The FBI turned off his security cameras, unplugged his internet, and flipped his house upside down in a search. The feds called the manufacturer of his Liberty gun safe and got the passcode to enter into it too, all for protesting at the Capitol over 2.5 years ago. So it begs the question, is a manufacturer of a gun safe legally required to give access to law enforcement if they make a request? Now, again, the hinge point of this particular case is we have no information that says that Liberty Safe was a named defendant or named subject of that warrant. And because they would certainly say so, I would hope, if that were the case, because that would change a lot of this. So this goes to the case of Apple versus the FBI in 2016. FBI was trying to get access to a phone. Apple says, we literally can't access the information on the phone. It's encrypted and we can't even get to that information. What the FBI says is, well, you need to create a backdoor so that we can get in there and make requests so that we can get into the phone. And that's what Apple was fighting. Now, that's important because Apple did not have access to the phone and they were trying to make them create a way to access it. So it is a little bit different than this particular case. But what the FBI said is they cited the All Writs Act, which is an old law, 1789, George Washington kind of time, basically saying federal orders have to be obeyed unless it's unduly burdensome and if that request is minimally disruptive to a company. And so it's an interesting application, but we really didn't get an answer on that case. because the FBI withdrew that case once they found a different way to get into that phone. And so that's kind of remained unanswered in the courts. And so my opinion, what should the policy of gun safe manufacturers be? We don't provide access, period, unless we are a named person on those as a subject of the warrant and are legally compelled to give up that information. And frankly, I think they should have some degree of fighting against it before they do it. But I think that would be a very reasonable policy. It also brings up the question of why the heck would you have a passcode backdoor to the safe? It's just opening a crack into something that I don't want any cracks in. I understand that customers are dumb and we lose safes and stuff. What wonderful marketing would that be if you say, sorry, there's no way into there. That thing is Fort Knox, not the brand, but the military installation. And so, two things I would love to hear from all safe companies. Please make a statement. What exactly is your policy about replying to warrants? And number two is, what backdoor access have you put in your safes to give access when it is requested? I do not like flaming companies. I don't like to be the guy who's coming out fighting on everything. But I also feel like we need to stick up for ourselves. If I spend thousands of dollars on a product to make sure nobody can access what I put in there, I want that to be the case. That isn't just forked over without my personal consent. Now, the police were going to get access to the safe anyway. They would have just called a locksmith. They probably have them under contract already to access things like that. But if it were me, I would like the right to say, I'm not giving you access to my safe. You want to break it? You break it. But I'm not going to assist you in violating my rights. What do you think? What does the court of public opinion say? I hope Liberty gets past this and makes some changes here. It's probably a good company who just made a dumb mistake, but I think change needs to be made. And before you go, be sure to check out FlexiSpot's Labor Day sale. I'm picking up 2 tables for Backfire's new office, which I'm excited to tell you about in an upcoming video.